Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Kaylin. I live in Seoul, South Korea as a part-time English teacher, and for today's video I thought I'd do differences between a public school job versus a private school job here in South Korea. If you guys aren't aware, I've been teaching in Korea for quite a long time now. Originally I came through the TaLK program, which is a public school job position, and later on I switched to a private school job, and now I've been through various private school jobs, so I kind of have an idea of the similarities and differences between public and private gigs. And I thought I'd share that with you guys today because now that things are opening up, I know a lot of people are planning to come to Korea to teach, but you're kind of unsure where to go. Do you want to go the TaLK route, the EPIK route, or who knows, a random Hagwon? So I'm going to show you guys my experiences and just the differences and similarities so you can get an idea of what would work for you. So we're going to jump right into the video. The first thing I want to talk about is placement. I honestly believe placement is probably the biggest difference between a public school job and a private school job here in South Korea. So if placement is something you're really concerned with, I definitely would recommend going the private route for this. So let me just break it down for you. When you come here as a public school teacher, either through TaLK or EPIK, they're in charge of where they're going to place you. They're going to send you where schools need you essentially. So usually that's like somewhere in the middle of nowhere. I mean, obviously there are some schools in cities and stuff, but most of the time they're rural gigs and you don't get to pick where essentially. From what I understand, when I applied for TaLK and did TaLK program, I was allowed to write some provinces and I believe cities too, but they could take that into consideration. But like I said, they're not going to like guarantee you the spot there. It's just like, oh, I would like to work there if possible, but it's not like a sure thing that's going to happen. When I came to Korea for the TaLK program, honestly, I had no idea about Korea at all, so I was just like, YOLO, place me where you want. And I ended up living in Wonju in Gangwon-do, which was amazing. I love Wonju. Wonju represent my hometown in Korea, but I didn't get to choose that. And if I could choose looking back, I would definitely have picked Wonju if I knew about it. But like I said, I didn't get to choose that. The program, they picked from me and they sent me where a school needed me. But if you come here and you go for the private route, you can pretty much narrow it down to neighborhoods. So essentially there are a ton of jobs in all the major cities and probably rural areas too, but cities, there are thousands of jobs. And if you want a particular neighborhood, Hongdae, Seongsu, Apgujeong, just type that into like Craigslist and like, you know, Apgujeong teaching gig. There'll be hundreds of jobs there looking for part-time or full-time private workers, and you can easily get a job in a neighborhood you really want to live in. So I would say that's like the main difference between public and private when it comes to placement. Public, you're not going to be able to choose where you live. It's up to the government program, while private, you can just pick anywhere you want essentially. And by the way, I know a lot of recruiters, they'll kind of tell you things like, oh, there are no jobs in Seoul, there are no jobs in Busan, you should go to the countryside and live there. Don't listen to them. I don't know why they tell people that, because that is a lie. There are tons of jobs in the major cities, but I think because it's harder for them to like send people outside in rural areas, they kind of like try to push you to go somewhere you don't want. Do not listen to them. Just be like, okay, sorry, fine, I'll find someone else, because you can easily get a job where you want. But yeah, that's the main difference between public and private jobs when it comes to placement. The next thing I want to talk about is payment or salary. Honestly, I feel like this is probably another big difference between the two gigs, public and private. In my experience, I feel as though public school jobs, they make less money than private school jobs. I don't know if I just lucked out when it came to private school jobs or this is just a thing, but essentially if you are working for the TaLK or EPIK program, you will be making anywhere from 1.5 million to about 2.7 million per month. Obviously with TaLK, at the time I was making 1.5, which is 1,500, and that's because it was a part-time program. And I believe with EPIK though, the starting base would be 1.8 or 1,800 up to 2.7, which is 2,700. And that's pretty much, from what I can tell, the cap. Like you can't make over that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but when I was researching online just earlier, it said on their website 2.7 was like the cap. But if you go to a private school, you can get more than that. You can negotiate for more than that. So if you were coming here as a new teacher, I would say the base salary would be anywhere from 2.0 to 2.2, so $2,000 to $2,200 per month. But if you have experience and you've been working for a while, you can make more than that. I would say anywhere from 2.8 to over 3.0, so anywhere from $2,800 to $3,000 per month. It just depends again on your experience and your skills. For example, at my old Hagwon job, I was making 2.8 per month, so 2,800 per month. And again though, they also were putting in my housing allowance because I asked for my own housing, so I believe if I didn't take that, I'd be making about 2.6 thousand or 2.6, so 2,600 per month. But like I said, I was taking the housing allowance. But yeah, that's the main difference, I would say. Like, to me, in my opinion, public school jobs, they have a cap, you can't make as much, and private school jobs, you can get more. So right now also, like for my current job, I'm making 2.7 to 3.3, so anywhere from 2,700 to 3,300 per month. It just depends on my schedule, honestly. So yeah, as you can see, private schools get more money, so if you're looking for money, perhaps the private route would be better for you. The next thing I want to talk about is vacation. So you probably have heard that if you come here and work at a Hagwon, you're not going to get any time off. Vacation is going to be very short for you, and sadly that is the case. When you work here as a private school teacher in a Hagwon, you don't get time off. It sucks, but it's the reality. So if we take a look at public school jobs, TaLK and EPIK, you get all red days off, and I believe it's supposed to be between 20 to 22 paid vacation days per year. But in my experience, I had a lot more. Like, I remember one time for Christmas, they gave me 4 weeks off paid, and then throughout the year, I'd get random like time off. It'd be like a week or two at a time, and again, paid vacation. I had so much vacation when I worked in the TaLK program. I traveled quite a lot when I was working for the TaLK program. It was fantastic, and I know people who are working in EPIK now, and they get like a lot of time off as opposed to private school jobs. So I was pretty lucky for the schools I've worked at. I got a decent amount of time off. So usually for Hagwons, you get red days off, and then you get 10 days per year. So you get 5 days in summer, 5 days in winter, and that's it usually. They're pretty stingy about it. And even then, sometimes I've heard Hagwons will try and take red days from you and be like, actually you have to work. That's not a real vacation day, so be aware of that. And again, like I said, I was lucky. At my old school, I had more time off, and in my current school, I actually get like a lot of time off. So it really depends on, like, if you look around, you can probably find schools that offer more, but I would say the standard Hagwon, sadly, that's all you get, 10 days off per year, and then obviously the various red days. So if that's something that's important to you, if you're coming to Korea to travel a lot or just have free time, I would definitely recommend maybe going the public school route, because you are going to get more time off as opposed to a Hagwon job or private school gig. The last thing I want to talk about is classroom management. Honestly, again, I feel like this one comes down to personal experience, because everyone will have a different experience when it comes to managing a classroom and creating materials, disciplining students, and even public and private. I feel like it kind of blurs in this case. It just depends on your school. So I'm just going to share my personal experience on my classroom management when I worked at public and when I worked at a private school. So when I worked at a public school job for the TaLK program, I was a solo teacher. I had no co-teachers. I had no materials like planned or prepared for me. I had to make everything myself. I had to discipline all the students. Essentially, they would come to my classroom. They gave me a classroom at the end of the school, like away from everyone else, and like the students would come throughout the day to my classroom. They would do whatever I had planned and they'd leave, and like no one came with them. It was just them themselves. Like their homeroom teacher didn't join them. So I was pretty much in charge of each class. I had to make materials for the class. I had to like make sure I had like textbooks, worksheets for them. Everything was done me on my own, and that's fine. Like I didn't mind it. But I know some people who work for EPIK, they have told me like they have co-teachers who will plan things and help them run the classroom. They have workbooks where they don't have to really prepare anything, they just have to follow this workbook. But for me, I didn't have that experience. But when it comes to private school, again, like my experience has kind of been like all over the place. So my first private school job in Seoul, I wasn't a homeroom teacher, so I would come in and out of the classroom, but the teachers were there and they would discipline the students. So all I had to worry about was making my lesson, and that's it. Like I just come in and teach my lesson, done. And again, I had to like prepare all the materials for the lesson. Like there's no like books or anything. I had to make flashcards, worksheets, and we did that. But my second private school job position in Seoul, they had a curriculum, so all I had to do was teach the book. That's all I had to do. But I was a homeroom teacher in this case, so I was in charge of the kids. I had to discipline them and teach them, but I didn't have to worry about planning anything. All I had to worry about is, were they listening? If they weren't, I'm gonna yell at you, and then would we finish the book? And that's it. I didn't have to think about anything else. That's all I had to do. And right now, my last or current part-time job as a private teacher here, it's kind of like a mixture of both. Like, I'm not the homeroom teacher, but the homeroom teacher isn't there. She like leaves the room, so I'm like in charge of them during my like 40 minutes. But I don't have to really prepare anything. Like, there are books that I have to teach them, like a curriculum. But if they finish that, I'm kind of expected to do something with them. So I sometimes prepare worksheets for them. So it's kind of like a mixture of all like my jobs in one at this current school. But that's just my experience working at both public and private. Obviously, you're gonna have a different experience. Like I said, some people I know, like, they don't prepare anything and they don't have to do anything in terms of like disciplining the kids. They just walk in with like a textbook and like teach them, and if the kids are rowdy, like a co-teacher will be like, get the hell out of here. But other people like me, they'll have to like prepare materials, have to discipline the kids. It just really depends on the school itself and where you're working, and yeah, just your luck, I guess. But that would be like my experience. Again, like I said, it's up to you and your experience. You might have something different than me. That pretty much wraps up my public schools versus private schools in South Korea video. I feel like I missed a ton of information. Right now, my mind is so numb. I feel like I've been talking for ages. I don't even know what I've been saying, to be honest. I have to go and edit this and look. So if I missed anything, please leave a comment down below and I'll do my best to answer for you. And I really hope this video was informative and kind of helped you form a decision, because I know it can be very difficult to decide if you want to do a public school job or a private school job here in Korea. But let me just say, when I came to Korea, I was so against private schools. I was like, oh my god, I'm never going to work at a private school. I'm going to work at TaLK and EPIK for life. Like, it'll be great. But that totally changed, and I love working my private school jobs. Like, every school I've worked at, I had such a great experience. I've never had any trouble. It's been fantastic. They definitely had like a lot of benefits to them. So yeah, don't be afraid to go the private route, because you can have good experiences. Don't worry about it. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next one.